That's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the nonsensus. Oh, wait, one moment of this. Welcome to the nonsensus. Oh, wait, one moment of this.
Okay. I had to open the thing so I could share it, and I'm opening it now, and I'm sharing it, so we should be good now.
Open and share your heart, bro. I'm Zakery Winchester here with Chris Orozco.
Hello, everybody.
We have a topic. Today we have a topic.
With a subtopic.
Yes, and it is a topic that artistically allows for straying from topic, and that being completely on topic. If we get distracted and stray from this topic, that will be a beautiful illustration of what we're trying to get to the bottom of here, which is the question. And I'm going to ask you this now, Chris.
Okay.
What's distracting you?
What's distracting? Cyberpunk is distracting me.
Okay. Nope. And that invokes the second parenthetical quotation question, which is from what? So if playing a video game that you enjoy playing isn't your life, it's distracting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, actually, you know what? See, see, we're already getting into it because I don't do it if I have responsibilities to do. I make sure my responsibilities are taken care of. I make sure my shit is handled. I do it when I'm done. And it is a meaningful experience for me. So is it really a distraction, or is it just not work?
Yeah, well, okay. What about making love to one's darling deer?
That would definitely not be a distraction. Okay, so my real distraction is Facebook. Facebook is a real distraction. Cyberpunk is a meaningful experience that I have been looking forward to for a while. Facebook, however, is a giant distraction that 80% of the time doesn't really benefit me.
But you also use it as like the substrate of your expression often. So there's distracting moments, and then there's living your life moments.
Yeah, most of the time when I'm taking in content from the Book of Faces, it's a distraction. But when I'm putting content into the Book of Faces, it's a meaningful experience.
But bro, to say that, to have that work across
most of the time
situations and scenarios, that's like my saying, I'm going to the party tonight. When I am listening to the other humans talk, that will be not important experience. That is a distraction.
Well,
but when I speak,
it depends on what party you're going to. For me, Facebook is a party where I have 5,000 people that I don't really know. I don't know most of the people on my Facebook because that's the nature of Facebook. When somebody adds you, you get exposed to their shit as well. So I go on Facebook and I don't know who most of these people are. And they're arguing tooth and nail about things that occur to me as relatively trivial. So if I were going to go to that party, then yes, I would think that maybe when I'm listening to the other person, I'm not getting a whole lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I go on Instagram, I go to the party with all the cool art people, and they're showing me all the cool art that they made and like all of these projects that they're working on, and it's visually pleasing and all sorts of things. So Instagram is a cool party where I get a lot of value from listening to those people. But Facebook is like your high school reunion, where like you don't really want to talk to those people, but you show up there and you just do it.
Okay, so to just I would cite my social network, as we say, is doom scrolling the thing that is said?
Yes, doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling, which is I've heard it called depression scrolling. Just when you're zombieing out and you can feel it, you know when it's happening. It's like, I am not enjoying this time. This is taking time away from something that could be meaningful. I hate this moment. And just keep doing it. And
there are conscious thoughts telling you this.
Yeah. So that is how that feeling is how I know I'm being distracted.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
distraction.
Or like in a video game, there are side quests that are so meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
and you maybe end up at the end of that sidetracked effort with a little bit more coin and maybe a cool item, weapon, or something, some artifact that you got going into that cave, or assaulting that wagon train. But it has not brought you closer to the main overarching campaign story, or so it seems. Because when you went in there, you did get XP. You maybe got this thing that really put you over the level of having the power to do the damage to kill the boss. And I think that's how it works in our lives a ton, and we don't realize it. It's just really like that. There's these moments that we don't enjoy, and there definitely needs to be a conscious effort to spend as much of your waking time as is sensible, because it's not like there is time that does need to be spent awake, but not in effort. And if that's
I think Jordan Peterson said something really interesting. Somebody asked him if masturbation is bad, and his response, I think, kind of like points to something in this distraction conversation that I think is just so key. And his response was brilliant. His response was, it depends on what else you'd be doing. If you're masturbating when a bunch of other people are counting on you to do something, that's a problem. But if you're masturbating before bed when you don't have anything to do, and you maybe want a little, like, some oxytocin to help you go to sleep, fucking fine. It's like this. If you're playing video games, like if I were to be playing video games right now, while you're sitting on here waiting for me to show up and have a conversation, that'd be an unhealthy distraction. Whereas what I'm going to do as soon as we're done with this is smoke as much of this joint as I possibly can, and then go play when I'm fully done and my girlfriend's on a call. Then it's not a distraction. It's a conscientious engagement in a pleasurable activity, knowing that all of my other responsibilities have been handled.
I thought that you were talking about, because I remember hearing good old JP say, he came at it from the angle of it's all reward with no effort. That was
porn. He was talking about porn with that.
Oh, okay, yeah. And that's what I think about a lot right now. I'm noticing there's something. My reward system is not toned at this moment. Is not tuned to produce the kind of days that I want. A lot of days. Mainly, like, I have all this time. Can I be highly productive in spurts of time where it's good productivity, and not just like, oh, I'm doing, like, I love that the pandemic has shown a lot of us those of us who have been lucky enough to have situations where we just have a bunch of time and a bunch of tools and a bunch of which is well, shit, did I forget the thing that I was about to say? Oh yeah, that it's like, I think I want to declare done with busy work, like hurry up and wait kind of situations, but also just like busy work of just how bad it feels to this incredibly privileged position that I'm in, to be able to say that I might be able to pull this off. But like, I really want to avoid for the rest of my life the thing where I am paid to be somewhere wasting time.
Yeah, one of those jobs where you just like take a shit 3 times a day and then just kind of like sit there for as long as you can.
Where there's just so much, as they say, sucking the clock. I don't want to be a clock sucker anymore.
You don't be a clock sucker.
I like, when it's time to do work stuff, I want to throw myself entirely into it and do and render the job done that only I could, sort of thing. And I want to stop the busy stuff and do more real stuff. And being distracted is when I know I'm not doing the thing that is meaningful, well spent, and I'm not having, like you mentioned the metaphor of the video game side quest. It's like, in those you come back with experience, and you might be able to advance on the main story easier, or you'll have spring in your step, or you just feel great about the actual experience that you had as a video game player. It's like, that was really cool. I'm glad I got to see that through. And there's some things in life where you get distracted, and then when you have the moment in Labyrinth where she realizes that peach had some sort of psychedelic poison in it, And she's like, this is a fucking distraction. This is fucked. Like, what was I was on a mission. I was supposed to do something. When you return to the main mission of your life, sometimes you feel like, oh man, like that relationship or that affair or that, like that was a distraction because I now have returned to where I was before. And I don't feel like I have any new good items or experience or skills. And fuck what just happened.
Yeah, and I think it's largely the distinction between like, are you acting from some unintegrated part of your psyche or are you acting intentionally? I think that's really all it comes down to. And like, what are you really avoiding? Because like my whole antidote to distraction is to create a life that you don't want to be distracted from. Because my general experience of this is that if you're being distracted, it's because the thing that you have decided on your own free will and accord that is the valuable, meaningful, desirable thing to do for whatever reason, you're avoiding that. And so whatever, I don't know why you would avoid whatever the thing that is going to sustain your being, but for some reason, we all have our own reasons and we get into those habits where we avoid the things that will sustain our own being. And so we have to take a look at that and be like, all right, this is the best thing for me. Even if it's just going to a job that you don't like and sucking clocks all day, it will still sustain your being. And so you really have to take a look at like, how am I holding my life? How am I holding this thing that feeds me and sustains me in such a way that I would want to avoid it? And is there a way that I can look at it? Is there a way I can relate to it? Is there even a way that I could potentially shift it on a fundamental level? Make it something that I would not want to be distracted from, but instead something natural desire to engage in. And I find that if you can make little shifts like that, then distraction really stops being a problem and you just start naturally engaging in the things that you want to the degree that you want to.
Because things stop being so distracting. The tractor beams of the less meaningful and less enjoyable and less experience points gained thing. Then there's also, for me, a big thing is distracting thoughts and topics, which today we have a very, very good example. That is that there is something happening in U.S. politics world that is like important to look at, and for as many of us who give fucks and have the intelligence and kindness thing going on, to interact with, so that it's not just our least careful elements deciding what the results are. Anyway, there's a lot of times where something like that bubbles out, but particularly now, where it's like being silent and not even looking at it is a bad. But also, like, we've got this hour and a half to talk, and I think that it's much more meaningful and helpful to anyone who may listen at any point in time for us to talk about something that is always going to be something that people are facing in tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, as opposed to be distracted by a specific one-time thing that is, I know some people are really more interested in hearing people talk about contemporary things, but I personally think talking about distraction as there is this thing that is meaningful to think about and shake fists at, and maybe Molotov cocktails if you're into that, which is like the COVID relief bill situation. Like,
is laughable
and infuriating. Like, how are they screwing the pooch so thorough? But like, I don't want to spend even 20 minutes of this hour and a half talking about those fucks, because I do feel like sometimes just giving airtime to celebrated persons or just persons of note who aren't, who aren't in your life, and you're able to actually get responses from them, co-respond, as opposed to just shake your fists and scorn what they're doing. Like, I feel distracted when pretty much whenever I go live, and the whole time we talk about the arena of contemporary.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I think it's like, because there's a distinction, right, between, because this there's a good argument to be made for that this was intentional, right? Like they decide that for the last 8-9 months where they didn't give us any rent relief or anything like that, that $600 is going to cover that. And it's going to cover that for everybody across the board, no matter if you're sick, no matter if you have kids, no matter all sorts of stuff. We've decided that across the board. Yay for us. Good. Now, a lot of people are going to take that information and they're going to use it to get mad at the people that aren't mad about this. And then the people that aren't mad about this are going to spend their energy getting mad about the people that are mad about this and making all the stories and all sorts of stuff. All the while, there will be people at the top who gave us $600, and we're not really going to bother with them. We're going to sit down here and we're going to argue with each other about whether or not that's a good thing. You can make a fairly good argument for the idea that that was by design. And at the same time, there is a huge distinction between this distracted behavior of I'm going to fight you because you think this is a good idea, even though you have absolutely no say in it whatsoever, versus I'm actually going to bring the fight to the people who think it's okay to do this to us. One is a distraction. One would be a meaningful pursuit, in my personal opinion.
Well said, Chris Orozco. Yeah.
Oop. It's just me now. Hi, everybody. It's just me. And I said all the things I had to say on that. And now we're back.
Internet was being a coward there. Okay, so what you just said was very great. I will try to say it in a sentence. It's a distraction to talk about how angry we are at Congress, or perhaps it's a distraction if it becomes just another point of contention amongst the American citizenry. And it's meaningful if we're able to ask the question, who just told us all to stay home and shuttered a bunch of businesses, and then it gave people fucking $600 and a bunch and there's a bunch of other nonsense in the bill.
Yeah, where if we took all the people that are arguing amongst themselves together, and we got the people that think that this is truly fucked, and then we got half of them to sit outside of Nancy Pelosi's house and half of them to sit outside of Mitch McConnell's house and cause an absolute ruckus until things changed, that would be very meaningful. But yelling at people on the internet, it's like, well, that's not going to do anything. Not even going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel worse.
Yeah. I think that there's enough people who are unified enough to do the not distracting, meaningful thing. I think that I would just get, there's a lot of pessimism of that we're so rare. You know, I think there's enough of us that would be down to stand in a crowd, knowing that the communal factor amongst us is not something as small as a left or right. It is not that it's super small, but it's way smaller than like these fucks have sold out their country. They're criminals.
And that's kind of the interesting thing about this idea that maybe the bickering is by design, because there's a bunch of poor people on both sides. Libertarians hate the government. Far left-wing people hate the government. We have more in common than a lot of people would like us to think. And if we weren't spending so much time engaging in the distractive behaviors that I think some people want us to be engaging in, we'd actually see that we have a lot of common ground and we're worried about a lot of the same shit. And if we all came together, we could maybe actually accomplish something.
Yeah. And it's the time. It is like the age of, do you have enough people like to be thinking that? I think I could see this as a thought that I wish to like push back against that whenever my mind does that, except when I'm meditating and not judging my thoughts. But like the thing that says, but you know, most of the people, most of the mainstream people, most people are totally sorted left or right too much to not be able to have to come with a meaningful list of grievances that we agree upon, and you know, successfully do civil disobedience protest stuff, because we're just too fractured. You know, so I'll push back against that thought always. It's like, I think there's enough. It's not like there's always for anything. There's gonna the stuff that is difficult to think about is always going to be less popular numbers wise. You know, It's like, because it has a fucking barrier of entry, and you got to go looking for it. It's not, but so that may be true for a while, or maybe forever, that there'll always be more, I don't know, what are we going to call that? I don't want to say the words like sheeple and stuff. I'm not interested in that anymore. What I'm interested in is that I think that there's enough people who,
I think there's enough people who give a fuck. Even if it was just the left-wing people, we still have plenty.
Yeah.
To make something significant happen.
So yeah, that's to veer from that distraction, though it is meaningful. And I think that you really answered that question for me. It's like, if we're getting somewhere, like we could like talking about, because what I just said to a friend today, I talked to Vasto today, my friend Vasto from Romania.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got into some particular talks about that, because he has a different perspective. He lives in Romania in a ski resort town that has that the COVID totally killed its like industry, was tourism and skiing. Where was it that I in the conversation of, man, where were we just then? Of meaningful of politics stuff. When is it a distraction? I don't want to spend. I didn't want to spend that whole hour talking with him about politics stuff. At the end of it, I kind of like assess the time spent, and it's like, and I think that it's good because it's a lot of time spent in complaint zone, and it's like, and there's like a whole market out there. There's people who their whole like media person identity is they have really concise, really good complaints. They really know how to articulate what's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. They know how to precisely bitch about the things that we only think about.
And that, to me, consuming that sort of content, or making it by that feels distracting to me. It feels like not as just a poor choice of time and energy.
Yeah, I have my own version of that I've been thinking about recently. I like some of these accounts that kind of, through visual metaphors, they kind of catalog the degradation of American culture through like a lot of really bizarre things. Just like people are doing some strange shit. And so I like some of these accounts to kind of catalog that. And then I think about what it must be like to run one of those accounts, where every single day get your head fully immersed in like all the most bizarre, unhealthy, and twisted things that human beings are doing. And then you're sharing that with the world. Like, what, not only a massive distraction, but also a massive, like that can't make you happy. That almost has to come along with depression and probably a sense of hopelessness and all kinds of stuff. And it's not
bizarre, but like really upsetting to think about stuff.
Well, I mean, it's like it's depending on who you ask. It could be anything from like furry culture and like some of the weird things that the furries come up with, all the way to like daddy dom little things where like people are acting like babies and wearing diapers, and it's just a lot of things like that. Like people are getting into really weird stuff, and the internet is just fucking bizarre. So some people will want to marry body pillows and just a lot of strange things. And it's fascinating to me from one perspective, but also I look at myself when I'm engaging in this type of content, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like finding the weirdest, potentially most upsetting, and things that would have me lose faith in humanity. And I'm just exposing myself to it for no reason. I would never come in contact with these people. These are things I'm not likely to see in my life if I didn't go looking for it. And yet here the fuck it is, as some twisted form of entertainment that isn't making me like people more. It isn't making me want to help people more. It's creating an imaginary villain in my head that I can make fun of and feel superior to. And yeah, it's a big fucking distraction.
I had a service experience today. A waitress who was so nice and like that, I think that the one of the most effective things, if you want to get both my heart and a good tip out of me, is if you can have these moments where you're kind of like the cool substitute teacher in high school or junior high, more like, because in junior high, if you're the substitute teacher and like as soon as the teacher is like like you're not being observed by somebody from the school, and you like say, well, I don't fucking know. The whole class is like, this guy's cool. He just said fuck like 4 times. This guy's so great. If you can do that as a waiter, waitress, service person, like make me feel like, hey, they tell me not to this, but you guys are so great that
yeah. Technically, I'm not supposed to do this, but
yeah, and there was a real there was a genuine moment of like peopling laughter where you're like, and it was what was it? It was something stupid. It was just like, oh yeah, she mentioned that I didn't know that I was going to be able to have a side of a potato with this wild mushroom au jus French dip sandwich thing that was very good. You get a side with that. Do you want fries, tots? And I said yes, tots, and I shall upgrade them to truffle tots. And there was something she found that gesture, that histrionic expression, that, and I shall make them truffle tots. And there was, and then she cracked up at that, but and so did my friend who I was eating with, and then myself too. Although I didn't kind of know, it's like, what was there a funny, or is it just, oh, not everybody gestures like that all the time? So
or uses that old English tone.
It was like, I'm laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. I'm laughing at you for being weird. Like it was funny. Just you're being weird. There wasn't like a joke there. You're not being clever. But it's also camaraderie. It's not like, oh shit, I fucking just laughed at the customer. Like and to quickly get to that point of friendship where it's like, I can laugh at that you just did a weird thing and maybe are weird because I don't know you. Like that you would be weird. Like you would register as an odd person to me, and I'm able to like laugh at you while looking at you, but we know that it's like, I do dumb shit too all the time. This time you're the one who's being and it was, yeah. Anyway, I just like, by the end of this meal, we were like, did we just like make a friend? And I leave a situation like that when you're not expecting it. You expect somebody to be another, like totally like, it's just some people just are very not their most spiritually turnt at work, and I understand that that's a mechanism to have this time go by that is not the time spent that you enjoy the most because you're at a job. Anyway, I left there being like, with that feeling that you're talking about, it makes me want to help people. Like that, there's content that's like that, and then there's just, you go out into the world and it's like, whoa, that secretary. I had a Secretary of State visit the other day that was so amicable and smooth. It made me feel different about society forever. Huh. Because it's like, sometimes that things run smoothly and people are nice. If things ran smoothly and people were nice, then I would feel like, yeah, I would fucking be gleefully paying taxes. I want to make sure. Hey, hold on. Did I miss did I miss something that? Because I want to make sure that you're getting as much of my money to help the lovely people who.
That's great. That's fantastic. I like that. So, how does that fit into distractions?
Oh, well, you said makes me that a thing of content that makes me want to help people. Like looking at this stuff of these people doing this bizarre or
oh yeah, and there's things like that can make you help people. Okay, I get what you're talking about. Yeah,
so because sometimes the meaningful distraction of watching like YouTube content, I'll actually step away from that content absorbing session with like a new inspiration and like a better emotional state than I went into it.
Yeah, like I was saying the other day, like for me, like I was judging myself for buying all these big like leather-bound volumes of this Japanese comic book that I really like, and they're like almost $50 a piece, and I bought 5 of them, and I just really like this book, and so I just kept reading it, and I was getting kind of down on myself because I don't like to spend money on things I don't really need, or things, at least things that I really, really want. Like PlayStation 5, I'll spend money on that because I'm looking forward to it. But these books, spur of the moment, I don't usually do that. And I was getting kind of down on myself about it. But I kept reading, and I realized that this book is doing something to me. Like these characters are having a very deep, visceral impact on my being, and the way that I look at myself, and the way that I relate to my goals, and the way that I relate to the way that I relate to my goals is like having this really big meta impact on me and my life. And so I was like, wow, okay, no, this isn't a distraction. This isn't me just irresponsibly spending money. Some part of me sees value in here, and I'm actually extracting a decent amount of value out of this. And so, well, it's not making me money. If your traditional life coach person were to find out that I were reading comic books, they wouldn't like it, and they would tell me that I should be doing other things and maybe reading David Data and God knows what else. I have no idea. But for me, it connected me to something really valuable, really meaningful. And it came from what could be described by someone else as a distraction.
Mm.
And so I'm glad that you're asking this question, because it does really blur the line between distraction and meaningful experience. And I think you said something that really kind of encapsulated it for me. And it was like, it's only a distraction if you know there's something else you should be doing. If you know there's something else you should be doing and you're doing this thing anyway, it's a distraction. If all the things that you need to be doing are being done or have been done, and you choose to engage in something, that's fine. But if you know you should be doing something differently and you're doing this other thing, that would be a distraction. And so I would even define distraction as turning away from what you know you need to be doing.
Yeah. Turning away from what? Averting your gaze from that which is most gaze-worthy. Most gaze-worthy.
Worth the most gaze.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a tough metric.
So some days I have this thing where and it's some of the best. It's the greatest day if you can realize this and commit to it and not become distracted or not in a bad way distracted. Where it is, let's call it Sunday. Usually it's that, back when weekends were a thing. I am open to, and I probably should just rest with this day. And there can be a series of hours where I'm not truly being productive in any way, but trying to become productive, because I'm not letting myself fully rest with the day, because it's like, oh, I got some I could do. And sometimes it'll fuck up the whole day's my capacity to get rest or to enjoy hours of not obligation.
Yeah, yes, that's the thing. It's like, because your conscience is fucked, right? Like, in a sense, if you have things that need to be done that you've decided are important and meaningful and need to be done, you have this part of your brain that just won't let you rest until it's done. And that's beautiful in a way. Where, like, imagine if we didn't have that. Imagine if you could just distract yourself endlessly and it wouldn't trigger any red flags for you. It wouldn't trigger any anxiety. It wouldn't trigger any existential angst. It wouldn't do anything. I feel like if that were the case, so many more of us would just waste our lives entirely. But luckily, we have this beautiful thing in our head that yells at us when we're not doing what we have decided is important to do.
Yeah, and it's quite bad. It could be. I experienced that being shouted at by the Jiminy Cricket within. That is like, you're fucking it up.
Yeah. But you might be, and that's important to know.
Yeah, no, it successfully makes it so throwing myself into the distraction and being able to fully enjoy it is difficult or impossible. So that makes the choice kind of easy. But the more philosophical question of what is a distraction, if you have an experience, and experiences are important, and it's always the eternal moment sort of stuff. If we had no main mission, and some people have this for a series of years in their life, and some people, this is something I hear people lament about this, but I would love to have this for a bit. but then I would want to come back and have that time to go towards the mission that I've already designated as my mission. Anyway, where it's like, I don't know what to do with my life, but I know that enjoying time and enjoying experience is important and good.
Mhm.
If that were the case, you could just like go for a mosey and everything that distracts you. That's why one of part of the reason why traveling is so cool, because when you're in a completely novel environment and everything is new, there's no distractions. Or like at Burning Man, there's no distractions at Burning Man unless you made you made a promise.
Yeah, in which case there's nothing but distractions.
Mhm.
So there's an interesting thing based on what you just said, is this whole idea, because I think about hippies, right? Especially talking about Burning Man, is hippies seem to go throughout their lives having almost nothing but meaningful experiences. And yet, to a certain degree, their whole existence occurs to me as a giant distraction.
Wow, that was quite a blow you just thrusted into the heart of hippie.
Well, I mean, so I think about this. I think about, like, for me, this is just my own pure definition. I think about, like, okay, well, you're going to get old one day. Have you planned for that? Is that taken care of? Like, you might have a family one day. You thinking about taking care of them in any shape, way, or form? You planning for your future at all? Like making sure that, like, at least things won't fall apart and you won't become dependent on everybody else. You think about that at all? If you're not, and all you're doing is chasing meaningful experiences, eventually all the things that you distracted yourself from looking at will come to fruition, and you're going to have to deal with that. And so all of your meaningful experiences could very well just be a giant distraction from your inevitable, really uncomfortable experience of being old.
I know I do know some old hippies, but perhaps they don't meet your criteria of hippie enough, because apparently they made a life for themselves and
Well,
achieved.
there are plenty who do. There are
Yes.
plenty who do.
I believe there's a new word for what you're trying to describe, Chris, and it is wook.
Okay, yeah, wooks. All right, fair enough. No, but wooks are just like, I can't talk about wooks. I have nothing pleasant to say. I can't do it without demeaning some people.
And this is an idea, a thing of a distracting topic or
Wooks.
tangent to take that I think, okay, perhaps wookery. Well, the definition, like how do we distinguish wook from hippie? Is wook a subset of hippiness? Is the wookery behaviors, or is it just like the style and the sort of music? Okay,
They're like
so
the downer equivalent of crackheads.
Okay, but so and that's where I would get distracted on that argument with you, because I think the wookery is not it can be, it's never like a positive, like when spoken, it is ranging from derogatory diss to neutral, like, oh yeah, that's Jeff, he's a wook. And it's like, and it's not always like, you fucking filthy wook, but it like, whether it specifically means like if there's such a thing as too much DMT and ketamine use, and unkempt appearance, that I mean, this is distracting, this topic right now, I think, because if we can be talking about meaningful, useful shit, and we just get into semantics, like if the conversation was meaningful, like, hey, how do we make our lives and perhaps the world better? And then we end up on, what's this fucking mouth sound mean? Is it the same as this one? What are the fucking...
How do we make life better? I don't know, but wooks are the worst.
Yeah, very not meaningful conversation. Like, okay, so this isn't an opinion. This is just a question. And this is a distraction right now. But I've been thinking a lot lately. It's like, somebody said the word cis to me the other day. Described me as a cis man, and it seems to me like there's an insinuation about gender roles that we're still keeping that alive as a imperative or suggestion of how one to act corresponding with their gender. If we're going to have a word that says you're showing up being your gender, maybe not correctly, but you're corresponding with the classic understanding of that. And so to have a word that means you're not pushing back against, I just like, it's like, wow, man, I feel this way, and I have this question, and I want to know what people mean, by that, or how, like that it, and I will have that talk, but not at a moment of like airtime, because one, talks about the just language choices can be so distracting, because now you have like conflicts and subsects, and the only thing that we disagree with about is like the language, like scaffolding to places. There's so much of that going on. So back to when we were talking about the politics thing of like, when is it meaningful? When we're talking about like making things better, or having a discourse where each or both of us like now understands more and has like sharpened the tools of their opinions and stuff. And it's just a bunch of word stuff. Like, I think getting into the just somebody whose whole brain is left side, and somebody's whole brain is right side, and them just being like, no, from my perspective, you're the one who's fucking it all up. Like, that's a distraction. But them both being like, okay, bro, what is fucked here? Who's fucking it up? Well, what are we gonna do?
This voice, you sound like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I do that voice fairly well, actually. Yeah,
I know. I could tell. It's a little off-putting.
Oh man, was she a great big old fat person?
So that's a distraction.
Good.
So no, I agree with you. I think semantic arguments are pretty much the worst in the entire world, and they're very difficult to disengage with. Like, so I'm actually in the process of noticing something like that unfold in the comment section of something that I posted on Facebook the other day. I posted something about Prince and how like all this masculinity talk. Like, I think it's very funny that there's a guy like Prince who could show up with assless chaps, talk in a very high-pitched voice, and still take your girlfriend. Like, with all this like traditional masculinity stuff, a guy like Prince is a fucking hilarious little anomaly to me. And there are people with very strong opinions about what masculinity is and how it functions and all these sorts of things, and they have very strong opinions about it. And I'm watching them have it out through this thing, and I'm just thinking like you guys are investing a decent amount of time in arguments about like who's projecting. It's like, no, you're projecting. No, you're projecting. Oh, so you're just seeing that because that's who you want me to be, and you want me to. And it's just this clusterfuck of stuff that doesn't seem to ever be going anywhere. And that occurs to me as one giant distraction. And there are a lot, but at the same time could also be a meaningful experience, because sometimes if you're engaging in a conversation like that, you could be working something out for yourself.
Yes. So, I want to work something out with myself, with the thing of like the thing I mentioned earlier, like that like I would like to find myself in a conversation with someone who knows more about a subject than I, and I can see that they're well-meaning, and that their responses, they try to truth, and then I could ask the right question and feel like I understand something, or even understand our perspective more. I am glad to have, in this moment, it feels good at having as much perspective that I have, that I think each of us would probably do really, really well at, if there was like, okay, so you take like 10 identity groups, like political identity groups in America, like extreme right, extreme left, or just conservative, neo. You could even get into little subsects like neoliberal, things like that. And I think that both you and I would be able to like write an essay of what they think, without like trying to verbally dunk on them throughout this, but like really just like, this is what this group of people thinks they want and what they think they stand for. This is what they, and to have it sound like it's coming from that. And I don't think that that's I think that not having that equipped, not just intellectually, but like having an understanding, it's like there's some good people who just happen to have sorted themselves, that way. And it's like, why are we making people sort themselves? Like, why are we sorting?
Which is why it's a beautiful thing. In I think it's like philosophy and debate classes, they will have you argue against your own position, and they will grade you on how well you can actually argue against your own position.
Yeah, I hated that concept when I believe I began 6th grade, and it was the intention to join the debate team because I liked to, argue and debate and was opinionated and liked to talk a lot. And I didn't get a month in, I switched out of it. And the reason was once I realized that you could be given something about, there was something about saving the dolphins, marine, something about why marine biology, keeping the oceans clean is important. And then I was like, that you could just on a dice roll could have to argue, against that. And fuck the dolphins, like so save the dolphins or fuck the dolphins was like.
Did you know they rape 4 people a year? Fuck those dolphins.
In caves, yeah.
That would be my argument. I'd be like, are you really going to worry about rapists?
Well, I mean, if you're in the perspective of the dolphin, is that what you think is happening?
Maybe.
No, I think
they're as smart as we are. You think they understand consent?
I don't think that they realize the depth of their sin. I'd like to think that they're just like really happy to play for it. It's like, oh yeah, we're just living our lives being
dolphins. Ducks do. I think ducks have to be aware of how terrible they are.
Are you talking particularly the necrophilia?
It's just the whole thing. You ever seen ducks have sex? It's just the most unnecessarily aggressive and just mean thing. Like this, like she's surrendered. She's just sitting there, and the duck is still like picking at the back of her head and like calm down, bud. You already got what you wanted. Like just leave it alone.
When people are really histrionic and sincere about their rough sex BDSM stuff, I'm sure that an alien species would see that and be like, wow, this is not nice.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure if somebody could have just heard yesterday the things I said to my girlfriend, they would judge me very poorly about it.
Oh, in you talking about sexually or in anger?
Mid-coitus, I say awful things to her.
See, that's a very special flavor that only certain special sorts get into, is the dialogue during.
Mm-hmm.
like full sentences.
Oh yeah, very full sentences, like full narratives.
Okay, so wait, are we being distracted right now? No, because it's meaningful, and that's but there was a thing. There was a thing before. There was a ship that I did not land. There was a ship that was not land about about debate team.
Hey, Willow's here. Hey, Willow, good to see you.
The thing of pick a side as opposed to do what's meaningful. So if you don't have some meaningful shit in your life, that is that a interesting thing coming up, because what is a distraction? It's a thing that interests you or concerns you that causes you to veer, and so the debate team thing, I used to base an identity on my being like, I'll fucking argue for save the dolphins, but it's like, well, you got the fuck the dolphins card. Or let me change that. Like, I'm ready to really argue that we should, disarm all nukes and not do with that. And it's like this day you get the card where you're going to be arguing for we should all have nukes or make that guns. It's like whether no guns or everybody have a gun. And it's just like, and you just randomly have to argue one. That infuriated me because I really thought that it was about what my fucking heart was doing. But when I realized that it's a game, it's an intellectual enterprise, I was not down with that. At age, what was I? Sixth grade? No, not sixth grade. It was fucking 8th grade. Whatever, high school. It was in high school. And I remember I had green hair at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready to fucking debate. And then, like, within the first couple of weeks, it became clear. It's like, sometimes they're going to make me try to argue for a thing I don't feel. I'm not into this. So how that relates to distracting is like, if you don't have something, if you don't like do your future authoring homework, and get yourself sorted out and figure out what you want, then everything and nothing is a distraction. Once you fucking know what you're about here, though, everything is a meaningful distraction then, because it might lead you to the thing. I think that those who lament to me that I don't know what's meaningful in my world, like I don't care anymore, I think that you're the most, I would prescribe to that person that their highest priority be finding that.
Well, and if only because there's like a distinction, right? Because if you don't have your meaningful thing clearly outlined, then you can't really call anything a distraction, because it's not distracting you from anything that you're aware of and you've chosen. You're just kind of floundering. You're more aimless than you are distracted. In order to be distracted, you have to have a thing you're being distracted from, and without having that clearly outlined, you can't really call it a distraction. You're just kind of aimless, possibly nihilistic. And then there's a distinction between, am I engaging in meaningful activities to try and find the thing that I would eventually not like to be distracted from? Or am I distracting myself from the possibility of even finding that because the concept itself is terrifying to me, which a lot of people do. I was a part of a group that was interested in life purpose for a very long time. I've coached people around life purpose. It's a concept I'm very interested in. And one of the most common things I find is that people don't want to define what is truly meaningful and important to them, because they could get it wrong. They could fail. They could spend a decent amount of time living in alignment with the thing, finding out they don't really like it. And then they feel like they wasted their whole lives and it's all pointless and meaningless. And so a lot of people will avoid ever even clearly defining what that stuff is because of all the threat of failure associated with it. And so you could distract yourself from even finding out what you'd like to not be distracted from. And so that's why I think it's important to bring it all the way back to your conscience. If you're living with a clear conscience, then you're not being distracted. But if your conscience is unclear and your mind is desperately yelling at you that there's something that you need to be doing that you're not doing, and you're distracting yourself from that, the problem. Because whether you know it or not, your mind will know. You have a blueprint in you somewhere for you. There's, no matter who you are, there's something you want the most. You may not know what it is, but there's something in you want most. And your mind knows what it is, and your mind knows whether or not you're living in alignment with it, and your mind knows whether or not you've acknowledged it. And if you're not doing those things, your mind will fucking scream at you until you do.
Yeah, my mind's been fucking screaming at me something thorough, Chris.
I believe it.
And you're saying that just then? Gosh, that really, God, I don't want to waste my life, Chris. I want to make good decisions, live a good life. I really do. I really fucking do. I
think we need to take acid more regularly when we do these things.
Yeah, microdosing is really, I mean, microdosing is going to become so popular exponentially every year, because there's going to be what people who are either just, people got told a lot of different things about this word drugs as kids, and some people have like yeah, I have empathy for, though this has never been like the case for me, except there's been a few things where there's something happened to me or I did where it's like, am I dirty now? I know where that feeling comes from, and I know that it can be like but there's some people who have like a lot of their identity in their sense of purity, and that they're not one of those dirty people. They're not one of those fucking wooks, and
you pointed. Fucking wooks. I felt accused in that moment.
If something happens, or choices are made, or something that makes them feel like, oh man, am I, or being at the precipice of that, they're like, no, I will not go down that dark path, sort of thing, of wookery and sin of a certain sort, that, what the fuck was I just talking about? Oh, drugs. Yeah. With the microdosing is going to be able to find its way into their menu of possibilities, because it's only a matter of time before a turtle that they really trust and respect, and like somebody that's a coworker of theirs who's actually like maybe outperforming them, and it's like, Rachel, you've been fucking crushing it the last 4 days. You've been
high as fuck, bro.
And it's like, I just back in January, I started taking, I have 4 days a week where I take, zero point 0.5 of, psilocybin, and oh boy, I just, yeah, it's been great. And, you wanna know where you can get some? It's like, I don't wanna become one of those wooks, but this is actually, allowing you to perform better at our job work responsibility, adulthood,
Mhm.
uh, uh,
Which is a perfect example of a potential distraction becoming a meaningful experience. I wasn't sure if me taking a little bit of acid before coming on here was going to be a distraction or a meaningful experience. It has proven to be a bit of both,
mm. Well,
and it's fantastic.
what's the distracting element?
Oh, colors are changing, and I'm feeling some very bizarre sensations I don't usually feel when I'm doing this.
I had okay. Here's this is on topic because I felt this night. Somewhat recently, I had a psychedelic experience with that one. LSD is. I think my LSD career is over. I
Mhm.
because this thing is kind of always have. I'm a person. It's like some people should never have uppers. Some people shouldn't like never need to have anything that like slows them down because they're because
Mhm.
like I am so neurotic and like experience my reality so brainily, so cerebrally that like when I do that stuff, like it used to be, I mean, there's an environment where it kind of works, but not really. Like, because if you leave me alone to my thoughts at any time, I did this thing the other night where my whole psyche turned in on itself, and I spent at least a few hours on this very couch having the most terrible thoughts, and they were so hopeless and self-defeating. It was so, and it really felt like at the end of that, like, not only was that not, like, a good kind of expansion, but
Mhm.
I may have fucking, like, twisted the towel out of some really fucking good stuff that was in me, or some new fucking shadow gook. Like, I felt so, like,
Oh,
but
that's so
a beautiful
funny.
thing about it, which was my acid career may not be over, because I was the next day I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, what could have possibly been the lesson from that? I guess just how powerful the mind is, and how important it is for me to do my mindfulness stuff, and like and try to get my brain to a quiet place for at least 15-30 minutes a day, and like and do the not judging the thoughts bit, because like it just the way it gets, what we're in that moment where I was following every brain tentacle, and some of them were just blossoming with such hatred. It was so bad. And, and I was thinking the next day, like later in the day, what could have possibly been good about that? And in the same moment, I realized, wow, since I woke up, I have been in really good spirits, like
Hmm.
entire day. And usually, days have waves and whatnot. But I realized then that maybe there was something, maybe there's this thing where it's like, and I'll ask this as a question. If you, Chris, if you knew there was a pill that you take this pill and it's going to make you feel really, really bad and anxious and depressive and self-defeating, it's going to make you think a month's worth of bad thoughts and scared, stuck feels for 3 hours, but then for the rest of the month, none of those signals will even be able to become as loud.
You're basically describing my life. All I do is teach and facilitate shadow integration. That's it. That's my whole deal. So what you just described is my life.
Wait, which is
To
let's go.
feel all the worst possible things I can possibly feel at the highest level of intensity I can possibly manage every single day, so that the next day will be that much better. That's my whole deal. That's partially why I smoke so much weed, is because when I smoke a bunch of weed, it makes all my innards come up, and then I spend a good couple of hours every single night trying to feel all the most terrible things that want to be felt so that they no longer have to bother me. That's why I microdose on certain other things, so that I can bring those up in a more intense and visceral experience. Because if I just get them out of the way now intentionally, then I won't have to be forced to sit down and face them at an inopportune moment.
does that, okay, so we've talked about this before on this program that when Zakery gets over cannabinated, it
Mhm.
goes to 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 scaredy cat land, anxiety, spits like giving. I feed myself scary stories and get terrified about them,
Yeah.
like and just just like this, and I've had several cannabis induced full blown panic attacks.
Mhm.
Um, like seeing red, need to lay down. There is no standing. There is no speaking. If anybody, comes near me, it's this. I got like I've been fully in the throes of like that full fledged motherfucking panic attack, bro. And it had been absolutely like the thing that caused it was I got way too much THC in me, and
Yeah.
then went down
The
an
worst
anxiety.
trip of my life was not on acid or mushrooms. It was on THC.
Yeah, you get too much of an edible. I just had too much edibles the other night. Anyway, but with that being like, might the tool of cannabis be, for that therapeutically
That's how
knowing?
I use it.
Yeah, but then there's also but then and the Bob Marley quote, the
Mhm.
weed reveals you to yourself.
Mhm.
So going with that, if I smoke the weeds and I uh can get like maybe get to that same level of THC in the blood, and I'm not having all these scared or
Yeah.
implosive
So for me,
thoughts.
the idea is you're already living in scaredy cat land, but you're not aware of it until a certain amount of THC hits your blood. Then you become aware of what's already there.
Mhm.
So then it becomes your job to deal with whatever comes up in THC land. It, like you smoke the stuff so that all of that can come up, so that you can deal with what you normally don't have access to in your daily life. And then you deal with all that sort of stuff, and then your generalized anxiety that you might experience about whatever, the more you get into this practice, it gets lower and lower and lower over time, and then you can get that much THC in your system that's fine. Like I used to, when I was really bad, I used to not be able to smoke weed for like 3 years because just a little bit of it would send me into like full like catatonic terror where I couldn't speak. I was just in pure terror the entire time, and so I couldn't smoke for a long time. And so I gradually eased my way back into it, knowing that it was going to do that. So I was like, okay, I can handle this much. I can be with all these feelings. I can process this and integrate this and put all this in its place. And then like, let me smoke a little bit more and push myself further and further and further. And now I can smoke like almost a whole of these king size babies in a night, and I feel fine the next day. I can have all the conversations I need to have. It doesn't impact my relationship with my girlfriend in the slightest, and having that much THC in me just isn't a problem anymore. Whereas before, a fraction of that used to send me into existential terror, the likes of which I would not be able to get out of for hours.
Ain't that a motherfucker?
It's a huge motherfucker. It fucks all the mothers.
Existential terror is such a fucker of mothers.
Yeah, it is.
It,
It really
it's
is.
with a lot of these feelings of like total dread and stuff. One of the, I think that's kind of like my onstage character. It's like it tends to happen when I'm like have the right lightning going through me and I get an opportunity to do a performance where I'm allowed to do whatever. Is that the character that I become up there is like this well-meaning, this jester that's on your side thing, where it's like yeah, isn't there a bunch of fucking pain and wretchedness about being human, but only sometimes, right? Sort of, but just
Mhm.
very like playfully like there's some dark shit out there, huh? And but and as if I'm like on the other side of that, like so this person has experienced some of what you've experienced and is like there with you in it. Like I am fucking not. I am going to be in the throes of my own panic in time. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if that would be suggested to even think that like I've had my last anxiety attack or I've had my last like depressive bout, but as we were talking about in our recent conversation on the Paradialectic podcast about diagnoses of mental health disorders, that they're patterns that you can get out of, and that it's to have the model when you think about that, you think about you're meeting a criteria of a list of behaviors, and you can overcome that, opposed to identifying with it.
Like I can go to the grocery store stone now. That would have been absolute nightmare scenario for me not that long ago. Going to the grocery store, high, getting checked out by a person who expects me to maybe talk to them while other people are behind me judging everything that I do maliciously. No, never.
Oh, I almost want to get distracted about an experience that I had at the grocery store. Hold on. I will say
I can do it now. And it's pleasant, and I talk to the checker, and I talk to the people, and it's nice, and it doesn't scare me anymore. And so, yes.
The ship that I didn't land there because of my ADHP, my because pattern, not disorder, my because of my attention situation that I'm working on, that I shall one day overcome a great deal. I did not land the ship of why I was talking about. Yeah, I assume this character when I do stage performance stuff that I realize, like, one of the things that I hope is getting across there is like I think of I was having this conversation with myself the other day of what is a really reassuring thing that has come from not age but experience. And what is age? Having had more experiences, is you get to experience this thing happening more and more, where you become so afraid or so like fucked up by something, and you think that you'll never be able to synergize that. You'll never, that it will always be like this terrible stain or scary thing. And then one day at age 32 or whatever, you look back at that one and you're like, it's like just plain funny. It's like, and when I think about times when I was in, we were talking existential terror, like really feeling absolute terror. It's kind of funny to me to think about little Zakery writhing around on that carpet down there, like fucking, so like we're fucked. It's like we're fucked because existence is fucked. It's like it in itself is us, is we're deteriorating, we're being eaten alive and fucked to death by, oh my god, out of this. And then to, like, to observe somebody doing that, it's like, oh my god, it's like heart-wrenching because it is really being experienced. On the other side of it, I look back at all of my times being spent writhing around in a ball thinking exactly and worse stuff than that, and it's like, ha!
Oh man, yeah, me too. Oh,
and that's the comfort and confidence that I would like to bestow if ever a youngling asks me, oh, why is several gray hairs in your beard, Zakery, at age 36? What is it that you have learned that has bring you?
Are you 36? You can't be 36.
I am 32 years old.
I was going to say, you were younger than me like a week ago. That doesn't make any sense.
I was also a Sagittarius. I answer when somebody asks what my sign is, I answer a different one every time.
Nice.
I cycle, and I also make posts about it's just because I'm a Leo. It's just because I haven't started doing that, but I thought that would be funny to see who the first person who calls it out.
I'm gonna be like, oh my god, that's so you, Zach. You are such a Leo.
I'm just being a Libra.
Did you get the grand conjunctivitis a couple days ago?
No, but I thought a lot about Agra from the Dark Crystal.
Nice. I figure that's kind of a normal for you.
I think about I think about Skeksis and mystics all day.
What is this? Oh, I've been given tea.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hold on. Let's read my tea.
Fortune cookie in your tea.
If we give happiness to others, we will end up happy.
Yeah. Oh man, it keeps occurring to me more and more, and I think that this is like
nice. Proving your own point.
I think, Chris, that I might be real close to something that is a breakthrough. I was almost going to say when I didn't have a topic for today. I was going to be like, Chris, I think I just want to ask you shadow worky questions because I'm having a rough week. And now it seems like as soon as I'm doing the thing that I'm on the path, or there's enough of that path happening in my life, I am such a happier like and as they say, self-loving, or at least I like self-accepting person. And gosh, when my shit is air quotes not in alignment, slash air quotes when I'm not doing the thing,
You're not clear consciencing.
I have self-loathing, I think, worse than most. Or like the way, like the just, and I think that it's because
You're
I
an
have,
artist. Of course you do.
yeah, you know,
Where do you think art comes from?
fuck. It's like fuckaroonie. It is so some of these things, if they're like the matrix coding of my self-deprecating like thought tangents could be seen. It's some of the most it's so horrific. I would not say that about anyone who isn't me. I don't wish those sort of insinuations of like, for someone might like some of the people that I think are the most guilty amongst us on this planet. I don't want them to feel that way about themselves. I don't want them to, and I'm doing it to myself. And
I did that for a very long time. In fact, I think I might actually be over it for the first time in my life, actually, like officially over it, to where I don't think I have anything. I think the thing I hated in me has been dealt with. I think,
or put to play. Remember, just a few months ago, you and I were really we were sincerely worried about society collapsing. Yo.
Yeah,
and
I might have to stay in LA.
Yeah, and so that a storm like that comes and goes, and but who are we to fucking say we're not? We are not sure about our, like, there's some things that we thought were just always going to be stable, but I think that we've seen that there is a way where shit can crumble. And in those times, I was really, really afraid. We didn't talk about this so deep, but when I would get into patches of fear during that time, I was really afraid that my worst fear might have a potentiality of coming true. And that is could be best said cryptically, I am most afraid that it is I that will end up in the guard tower.
Oh, really? That's what you were afraid of?
I would say my worst fear is to have like all of the opportunity of my life, but that's not creative at all. My worst fear is that I'll die. Like I'll die early and I won't be able to do stuff. But something.
Don't minimize that, bud. That's a big thing.
Okay, but you can't say it's your biggest fear, because it's just not specific enough. Like we're talking, we want something at least creative, as like being out in the ocean, or
I'm genuinely more afraid of dying with regret than I am from being in the ocean.
Sure. But okay, but an experience that is not just, early death. That is
okay. I'm distracting us. Keep going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I fear that it is that I will end up in the guard tower. That by some process of the world becoming a more dodgy place, and and you could call it like the self-preservation, could also be called self-love. That like as my neighbors go insane, and I don't even feel like I can vouch for humanity anymore. And if there's chaos all around, and I don't know where the good turtles are. That I will go into that in my survivalist situation, I become such a monster. I was really afraid about that. And now, and I guess the way that I have integrated that fear is that now I look around at a world that seems to, there's some real hopeful stuff. There's some real unstable stuff, but there's some things that seem to be stabilizing. There isn't the fever pitch level of concern that we had at that time for, like, chaos in the streets everywhere, sort of shit. I am very afraid to see how many of us find out stuff about our capacities if we're put in survivalist situations. Both good and bad. Like, some people will find it's like, whoa, they really came together for the team. Oh, did you know Ron is like actually homicidal maniac? He was just like, he had a society that he was, would
there be anything worth becoming monstrous for?
But it's not just monstrous. When I say the guard tower, I mean like the full metaphor of the guard tower, like fucking there's both cowardice and monstrousness. It's like cowardice because I am kowtowing. Is that the word? to like, to some force that I am now dependent on and under threat of simultaneously, who is having me do terrible things.
Oh, got it. So this isn't like a willing, like, okay, the world's gone crazy and I've put my fucking stake in the ground and I'm making sure that we get burned. You're like, I just am doing this so I don't die.
Yeah, well, I'm being hyperbolic. You be hyperbolic with fucking metaphors, So I had a big thing of like, fucking Nazi in the guard tower sort of thing. I'm not actually afraid that I will end up in a guard tower or or serving some sinister government movement sort of thing. But so a realistic way that unfolds is shit gets dodgier and dodgier. I get more and more intense about boundaries to the point where it's like there's the barrier of entry to interact with me is so much that I can't even call myself an open person anymore. And I am, and I feel strongly about that because of the way things are.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
I just
I was actually worried about having to fight people, so I thought you were being literal.
But that I meant that as well. I meant for ranging from that to something I fear watching myself have to just let go of all idealistic, hopeful optimism stuff and just get really realistic because I gotta actually survive a dodgy situation. I feared that. I still obviously, fear that. But what I'm gonna do now is I've noticed now I'm so grateful that we have relative peace and that there, I think that there is a real avenue to really positive changes happening on the big stages of socio-political stuff. But I really am sure that I want to be on team. Let's do this as civilly as possible. Really, what we just talked about earlier. Let's not have this be about the clashing and the hatred, and be about results. Like we really have to, because doing chaos work stuff, I don't see that as producing, good results. We've talked about that a bunch. And I was just being pragmatic and just becoming a little bit more adult, like early 20s me was like, yeah, let's guillotines and burn some shit. And now me is like, well, I cannot unknow that doing that usually leads to more people on the Ewok side being hurt and imprisoned and in a worse place than they were before than the stormtroopers. So being as I know that this hurts the Ewoks more than the stormtroopers, let's not do that. Let's try to find a better way that has the ascension of the Ewoks actually results from those efforts. We watched the Ewok movie, me and my sister, the other day. The Ewoks, they made Ewok movies too.
Return to Endor.
Yes.
Yeah. With the really fast guy.
Yeah. Oh boy, and we didn't realize as kids that child actress, the little girl who plays what's her name? So the one who's friends with the one who goes fast.
Yeah, I don't remember her name. I just remember that Wicket has a name. That's the only name I remember.
Wicket, and shit, I forget her name. Anyway, civil. Anyway, that child actress is bad. Wow. So not like some of the lines are delivered. So it's so funny to think about child actor moments. I mean, this is actually kind of horrifying. But like, how are they making these kids cry? It's like, is there somebody? Sindel? Sindel. Yes, Sindel. Oh, Wicket. And there's still moments of cuteness between them. But that movie, I did not realize how thrown together that film was. It's still charming in ways.
It's pure marketing. It's pure, we just want to sell toys.
I loved Ewoks. I didn't realize until I was in my late 20s, an older Star Wars fan who was like, in the theater when the first like
fucking savages.
He was, he had already been to the theater for 2 Star Wars films being newly released, and Return of the Jedi was the one for him where it's like, oh my God, they are making this stupid, and for me, the original trilogy was like just biblical. Even though I was raised with the special edition, that's the age I was at that time. Star Wars special edition. And I
had the OG VHS tapes.
but I'd never heard anybody, no one had ever offered me the perspective, hey, those Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, what if you don't care about cute so much and they're actually pretty stupid? Because when you were an actual child watching this, you were so like, your reaction was, oh, it's cute. But what if I told you it's stupid? They're little stupid bears.
I got a little older and I was like, whoa, these dudes are fucked. Like, they're just savage little things. They use like skulls for drums, and they were going to eat all of them. They were going to eat all those people.
Yeah, they were weird.
They're savage little creatures that were worshiping C-3PO. These are not like cute little guys. Like, they found a deity and they decided to worship it. And then they were going to sacrifice all these people to it. It's not cute. It's horrifying.
Well, okay, so their knee jerk was sacrifice, but what they ended up doing was partying and saving the world.
Well, yeah, because of magic. If it weren't for God magic, they wouldn't have done it. They weren't even like, God is like telling them to change, right? Like, they're like, put this guy on a pedestal. He is the deity, and the deity is like, hey, maybe don't do that. And they're like, yeah, fuck you, guy that we just put on a pedestal. We're fucking doing this.
What's with that? Yeah, what's with the yeah, we're gonna worship you but not obey you?
They are savage little creatures. They have a morality we cannot even comprehend.
That is strange, because I imagine in all religions and tribal spiritualities that have ever come to be, what's the defining term between that? Like, because I see tribal spirituality because it's like small groups, like obviously every tribe, and there'd be tons of tribes in a region, and
that's one of those semantic things.
Very different spiritual stuff. But at some point, is it when you have big old buildings and stuff? Like, because this word religion is like, does it have anyway? They get semantics, distraction.
Yeah, nice catch. Let's land this shit.
I think that anyone who's religiousing or is doing any kind of group spirituality stuff that has a deity God situation, and they're worshiping it, and that fucking God shows up and tells them to do something that they can do, like put down the thing or like stop burning these people, that they'd be like, oh, fuck, sure, yeah, exactly. I mean, we're in the process. We're doing this to worship you. So if you say, sure. But those fucking Ewoks were like, oh, no, fuck you, God. We're going to just burn these folk, your friends. We're going to burn your friends because you are God, however.
And we've decided you're God. You didn't tell us this. We decided this of our own volition. We saw you and decided that you were worthy of our praise and worship. And we're also going to feed you your friends.
Fuck. What? That wasn't said, that they were going to feed you his friends? Oh, wait, was it?
Hey, what else were they going to do?
They're cooking Han Solo on a spit.
They were gonna spit roast Han Solo and Luke together.
And feed it to 3PO, whether he liked it or not? Do you think so?
I mean, that was implied heavily. Maybe not force-fed, but I mean, what else are you going to do?
I didn't catch that. Then again, I was so not perceptive. I mean, I've seen Return of the Jedi that like I tend to watch the original trilogy. I don't let years go by. It's biblical. It's like, it straight up is, and that's something I'm really sincere about. It's like the fiction that you enjoy and that you derive meaningful themes from, that is your religion. That is your spirituality stuff.
You know what I have sitting on my desk right here?
What's that? Yeah.
I also have a poster of it right there.
Raiders of the Lost Ark was a film that I thought could not be ruined for me. But I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Whatever it is, I don't want to hear it. I watched the first 20 minutes of Crystal Skull.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was fine until the thing took off. I was fine with Crystal Skull until the thing took off. And then I was like, ugh. Disgusted thoroughly.
Yeah. Okay. Great example of a fucking distraction.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting at the end of this thing. I feel like we fell apart like a good 20 minutes ago.
Watching bad movies.
Oh, yeah.
watching media that you don't even fucking enjoy at all, or that, oh man, I watched Doctor Sleep the other day. I watched the sequel of The
You watch
Shining
Doctors
movie.
Sleep?
No, yes, I like to watch. I like to, in order to fall asleep, I have to watch neurosurgeons like that. They do this thing where they put up set up a webcam at their actual bedroom at home, and people know that they're really tired because they're doing this really important thing all day.
Empathy.
So the empathy reflex makes it so that it helps put me to sleep, knowing how softly they're sleeping, how deeply.
I just smoke weed and masturbate. Your way is so much nicer.
Doctor Sleep is the sequel to the Shining in film form. It's real bad.
Really, Doctor Sleep?
Yeah, it was really bad. It was really, and I don't want to go. I don't want to.
Ewan McGregor in it. You'd think this would be good.
Well, dude, he was also like the thing, like it, and that's what it made it more infuriating. What sucked about the Star Wars prequels is that there were some really great casting choices and just some things that looked and felt great.
What is this movie? What is this?
It's so bad. It's so.
What?
It was so bad.
What does this have to do with The Shining? I don't understand this.
It's totally. I mean, Stephen King made a sequel book to The Shining, and
is it like the kid grows up?
Yeah, and shines. And there's a group of shining people who kind of behave like vampires.
Do they ever explain The Shining? Do we ever get any closure on that?
It's bad. It is. That film, that hour and however long was distraction time. The entire time I'm watching, I'm like, I'm hating this. I'm having the experience of watching something I don't like when there's other choices. Like it's not, and it's not like this is gonna end well. It consistently, and obviously, art is subjective. There are people who enjoyed that film. I knew within 10 minutes that I was being taken down a path I did not wish to go.
I mean, it got a 77 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Is that good for Rotten Tomatoes?
Who the fuck knows? Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is about the kid grows up. You'd think that could be cool, but
you know what would have been really fucking cool, Chris?
If Stephen King just shut the fuck up.
No, I really have an opinion on that, but Wednesday Addams. Wednesday Addams goes to college and starts having sex.
Has an OnlyFans.
Yeah, like now to make a Wednesday Addams grows up movie now would be amazing. That would be so great. Oh my god! Like from Addams Family.
You still have to get Christina Ricci to do it.
I think that's possible. How old she is. And I think it's possible. Right? To have her be believably 20.
Yeah, I mean, most people that play teenagers are in their 30s anyway.
Christina Ricci's in her 30s?
I don't know. Let's find out.
God,
any excuse to Google Christina Ricci.
Cruel Intentions is a movie that I really.
Christina
Ricci's not in that, but I do want to watch.
She's not. She was born in 1980. She's 6 years older than me.
8 years older than I.
She's 40.
Christina Ricci is 40 years old. Christina Ricci is 40 years old. Name is Christina Ricci. That's a good example of a distraction. Talking about celebrities.
Tell me about it. I'm already on Google Images search over here. I'm having time of my life. I'm distracted as fuck. Anyways, what are we talking about?
We were
Christina Ricci.
Nope. No. Wednesday Addams.
Same.
Hey, I'll tell you, I feel real good right now. I feel like I can do the thing where I smoke the cannabis and don't get anxious because I am feeling good about. So next week, could I trouble you for like an interview?
You want to interview me, or you want me to interview you?
This time I interview you. I would like to have the homework assignment of preparing questions to ask you, Chris Orozco, that I actually await the answer with bated breath because I think that what you say may be useful for me and, of course, others who are having, you know, a particular experience with perhaps a little too much self-evaluation because of all the downtime, you know. But it occurs to me that if there was ever a time to do shadow worky stuff, it would be the next 3 months.
Fully agreed. Well, that sounds super fun. I would love to do that. And also, just real quick, because we only have about 20 seconds left. Have you been doing your Wim Hofery, or have you been getting distracted?
I have had a 30-second period where cold water is running on me and made some attempt at the breathing every day except last Saturday. I was on edibles like the whole fucking day at this it was a retreat.
Yeah, I did it at night a couple times because in the weekends I don't want to do it in the morning, so I did it at night a couple times, and I'm really stoned at night, but I'm not really stoned in the morning, and it's such a big difference doing it really stoned.
Yeah. It's because it makes I'm you know what, I haven't done the cold shower. I did some breathing this morning, but what I've been doing actually is I'll run through that breathing guided by Wim Hof. I listen to it in Spanish because I'm learning Spanish, and I think that's a really good way to learn some words is to hear them instructing you to do something, and I know that to have that to be listening to that guided video in Espanol for the next several months, like I'm going to know everything that is being said, and I'm going to not be doing the translating in my head into English, but like really understanding all the words about it, you know. So it's an added productivity thing. Anyway, I'll do it in the morning, and if I half-ass it in the morning, I won't beat myself up too much about it, because just the breathing, because there's such a thing, there's half-assing the breathing.
Oh yeah. But I really like the high, so I haven't half-assed the breathing yet, because the high is very much worth it.
Yeah. And the best thing to do is to achieve the high and then go into the cold. And I now live in a cold place, so and they say it gets colder if you bundle it up now. Wait till it gets over. And I can just go out into the cold. I can just take off clothing and go out into the cold. Not here though, because I'm in a cityscape. God, I like being in cities. I don't like living in them. I don't like living in cities. I like being in the fog. I like spending time in cities. I don't like living there. But yeah, I've been doing it every day except last Saturday. And I'm probably going to do that right now. Do the breathing and go into the cold. Beautiful.
Well, then let's go do stuff. I'm going to go play Cyberpunk and smoke this. Actually, I need to respond to some messages and smoke this weed, but then I'm going to go play Cyberpunk.
I want to set up a thing where you can talk about Cyberpunk with Vosto, because Vosto has critiques of the messaging and the lack in the story, the lack of themes and stuff.
Lack of themes. Oh
yeah, I think that you two argue well about this. Yeah.
I think wow. Okay, great. Yeah, because this is one of the best things I've ever done. It's masterful in my opinion, even with the bugs and the shitty graphics and all sorts of stuff.
I think I want to. I think if 10 hours and I'm done, 10 hours and it can be 10 hours and I'm like, all right, I ran through the story.
I don't know. I've been doing side quests and stuff because I like to play on hard difficulty. And if you don't do the side quests and all kinds of stuff, you're just fucking useless.
Exactly. Because you got to get distracted so that you're even capable of the main mission.
Well, it's not a distraction. If it's meaningful and in service of becoming strong enough to be able to do what you need to do, it's not a distraction. It's preparation.
Let us prepare ourselves for the future.
Let us prepare. All right.
Okay.
Always good, Zach. Always good.
Yes. Happy reality to you and all.
Fare thee well, everyone.
It's gonna be just as weird as now is. I promise. The future is gonna be absurd as the past. Be sure of that. The future is gonna be just as weird as now is. I promise. The future is gonna be